Hey guys, Harold Taki here from Pugilist Experience. I'm here once again with Christian Thompson, my good friend, former world champion kickboxer. How you doing today, Christian?
Good, thank you.
Good. So today we're actually going to be talking about skill acquisition and the pitfalls that come along with that as well. So, Christian, vast majority of people want to acquire new skills in order to help them move forwards, but for some reason, most perceive that there's a massive barrier in a way for which which stops them achieving that. So, from your experience and what you've come across, what would you say are the biggest barriers that tend to stop people from acquiring new skills?
I'd say there's two or three main things.
Yeah.
Let's start with the element of self-value.
Yeah.
People don't believe they're smart enough, have enough time, strong enough, whatever, for whatever reason, to go and study the skill and to acquire this skill.
Yeah.
They for some reason doubt their own ability to acquire it.
Yeah.
So self-value is one of the big stumbling points I think that we need to address first. It's just something that a lot of people seem to suffer with.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, it can come from many childhood problems. It can come from any point of even an innocuous fight in a playground when you were a kid, to something more serious where there was maybe something not right at home.
Yeah.
And all the way through family and friendship ties throughout your life. So there's lots of areas it can come from as well. So it's not just quite as simple as going, well, you don't value yourself because of X.
Usually it's like self-limiting beliefs in a sense, like you said, going back to childhood. So the role of parents is a big role when it comes to skill acquisition.
Yeah, definitely. As well as the behaviour that other people around you have exhibited, or your experience with things in the past.
Yeah.
Past experience is how we quantify the world.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if your parents were constantly talking about how hard it was to pay the bills, or how scarce money was, well, guess what? You're going to grow up with that belief.
Yeah.
So, if you believe that you have to work really hard to get money and you have to hold on to it tight, and the bills are hard to pay, well, then they are.
Yeah.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And this is very closely tied to limiting beliefs and self-value.
Yeah.
And this is a great example of an area that can be completely distorted by programming from a young age.
Sure.
So I'd just say that's mainly the first thing that people need to take into account, what people need to think about is, have they got any blockages in their own self from achieving or acquiring the skill?
Yeah.
Is there anything they don't believe they can achieve, or is there any fear of attempting it?
Yeah.
A lot of people also fear their ability to achieve it. So they say, if I try my hardest, I'm going to achieve it. There's certain people that have that mentality.
Yeah.
They think, as long as I try my hardest, I'm eventually going to achieve this.
Yeah.
But that normally comes from people who have a experience of success. If people don't have that natural experience, they don't know that if they just put their heart and soul into something, if they just try their hardest, that they will eventually get there.
Yeah.
So, as well, it's about chicken and egg, getting the experience, believing in yourself, having that faith that eventually you're going to get there, and understanding that no matter where you are now, you are smart enough.
Yeah.
Everyone has the same capabilities in terms of intellect to a certain extent.
Yeah.
To grasp most of the skills there are on this planet.
Yeah.
Maybe not be 100% the best at a skill in the world, but to actually grasp it at a firm enough level to do something successful with it, for sure.
I mean, so, say for example, you've got, take yourself as an example. So, you've had a huge amount of success in the sport that you chose to participate in, kickboxing. Now you're having a huge amount of success in business as well, with your latest business ventures, from neurology to the packages that you set up, and the other success you've had in transforming people's lives. Now, some people would say that they're two completely different skill sets, but really they're actually quite close to the same time.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first stage of that was I was a very shy kid.
Yeah,
You know, I wouldn't say boots were ghosts.
yeah,
And to get to this stage now, I've had to come through a lot of different areas of growth in myself. And the way that sort of happened in the first place was I didn't set out to become world champion.
Yeah.
I didn't set out to study neurology or biophysics or anything else. I just wanted to have a good time.
yeah,
It all comes down to that. I just wanted to have fun.
yeah,
So I found something that made me feel good, and I just did it.
yeah,
And I just put time and effort in. So like we've got before, the master of time and effort, the master of kung fu.
yeah,
You know, so I mean, that was the biggest secret for me.
Yeah.
Just finding something I enjoyed and sticking all of my time and effort into becoming really, really good at that thing that I really like doing.
Yeah.
When you love doing something, it's very normal and very easy for you to become good at it.
Yeah.
Now, this kind of falls on deaf ears with a lot of people. Like, just love what you do. Because you're like, well, I don't know why I love.
Yeah.
I don't, and I'm not getting good at what I love.
Yeah.
Or, you know, there's many reasons why someone won't take that advice and use it in the right way.
yeah,
And I think what we're going to look at with those people is, again, having that faith and belief system
Yeah.
put behind them, showing, being able to set up a goal and reverse engineering, like we talked about before, about
Yeah, sure.
breaking that down.
Yeah.
To be able to notice the skills you have to acquire, notice the steps to acquiring those skills,
Yeah.
and breaking it down into a logical process rather than it being some esoteric thing that only the great among us can achieve.
yeah,
That's that belief that only a few people can do something great.
Yeah.
Is what we all seem to carry around with us.
yeah,
And I mean, even me, I have to catch myself saying, why can't I do this?
Yeah.
So I'm challenging myself at the moment
Yeah.
to look into writing a paper for a journal.
Yeah.
I mean, Alex will succeed. So to be able for me to be able to do that and to be able to put a paper down to have a master's or a PhD or whatever,
Yeah.
I have to go through a hell of a lot more hurdles.
Yeah.
And than many other people. Oh, am I smart enough to do that?
yeah,
Well, if I study enough, well, I will be smart enough.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
I'm not smart enough right now.
yeah,
But you know, when I go through those processes and do those hours and put that time in,
yeah,
I will be, and the
Yeah.
paper I write will be worth the title I get. Yeah.
I think something came up in the interview that I did with Mark Prince just the other day, and it's a similar sort of thing. He never set out to be great or anything like that. He just found something that he could really get into, something that he could really enjoy, and just ran with it. And the skills that he picked up from that, he's been able to transfer to other aspects of his life, just like we talked about the other week with crossover skills.
Yeah.
So my question would be, how can I put this? Do you feel that a lot of people who put those self-limiting beliefs on themselves, do you think it's a question of a lack of congruency between the perception of themselves and the reality of themselves?
Well, there's definitely a lack of congruency there.
Yeah.
Whether it's to do with perception and reality of themselves, yes and no.
Yeah.
So yes, there's an incongruency in the perception of reality, because the reality is they're incredibly capable of
Yeah.
achieving many great things,
Yeah.
and they don't believe that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's an incongruence there, but it's more to do with their experience of success.
Yeah.
They've never found something they really enjoy doing that hasn't mattered whether they're good or bad at it.
Yeah.
They seem a lot of these people that I've worked with before seem to have this preconceived idea that they're being judged about everything they do constantly,
Yeah.
and that comes from a background and a history of that actually happening,
Yeah.
or them perceiving that actually happening.
Yeah.
Now remember, when we're in a good state, we make jokes, right?
Yeah.
You make fun of each other, you
Yeah.
make jokes, you say this, you say that, and to someone who's not in a good space, and we've all been there, where someone's made fun of us one day and then we've reacted terribly. Oh, you know, can't believe you said that, or you got really hurt or offended by it. And the next day, someone makes the exact same joke, but you'd be absolutely fine.
Yeah.
You'd take it on the chin, you'd laugh, you'd say something back. Now, people who are in bad states don't have this ability to have this dialogue, to have this back and forth feedback, this jovial side, and enjoy what they're doing, because they're so focused on being good at something, on trying to be successful, on trying to achieve a certain goal or target, that any time someone knocks it, and by the way, I'm hugely guilty of this myself.
Yeah.
So a lot of my friends sometimes they take the piss and they go, no, but it's this. And they go, Christian, we're just messing with you. You got to let it go.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I know this firsthand exactly how hard this can be.
Yeah.
And it's something that when you start enjoying yourself and stop taking everything so seriously, things do become easier and things do become successful.
Yeah.
I think this is also a nice little segue into one of the next points that I want to make as well about this sort of thing, and that's when people start, also when people start to get a bit of footing and they start to get ground, they start to make ground and they start to get good at something, and they get to hit this wall and they realise, I can't go any further until I go over here, outside of what I'm doing, over here, completely in a different subject, and learn this, because this is the next stage. I need to know, I need to understand this before I can progress any further here. And that stumbles a lot of people, and that's that difficult stage. You know, you've gone through the honeymoon period, you've had fun doing something, you've got good at it, you've got some traction, you're feeling good, and then you hit a wall and you realise, this is where the hard work actually starts. To actually go from being good at something to great at something, you have to not just understand your subject. You have to just not understand one small detail and be good at that. But you have to then transition and cross over into new areas. So, for instance, my story is all about this. And so I started off as a shy kid, who then became a fighter, and then became a coach. And then as a coach, I found that the stuff that worked for me didn't work for other people. And then I didn't like that. So I got frustrated. So I went off and studied. So I studied nutrition. And then I found, okay, so this diet works for one person, doesn't work for another person. So I studied more until I knew everything about nutrition. And still, it wasn't working for everyone. There were some people that just, no matter how well they just didn't work. So I studied physiology as well for movement, because there was other people that just the techniques of moving well that worked for me, that worked for some people, which wasn't working for everyone. I also studied mindset, because how to motivate me or how to motivate another person wasn't working for a bunch of other people. So all these things frustrated me. Even after searching all of that, and becoming good at not just fighting, not just coaching, not just the psychology and the mindset, not just the nutrition, not just the actual biomechanics of movement. Still, I wasn't getting the results I wanted. People weren't. I couldn't help everyone. I couldn't help everyone I see, and it's not always about helping everyone you see, but knowing that it's not something you can help with. I couldn't even spot when it was something I couldn't help with. Because I was so caught up that I've studied this, and I've studied this, and I've studied this, and I've seen these symptoms, and you look like this. So this should help. And that didn't work. So then I went off and found more things. So I went to neurology. And then that was fantastic, and that sort of tied everything together, and that sent me into the spiral of learning more stuff. And now I'm into learning biochemistry, biophysics, quantum physics, full-blown physics. So you can see, and even within those elements, I've got to go back and learn maths again. You know, and algebra. So I've not just had to develop myself in one skill, which is developing a human body. I'm now developing the human body, the human brain, the human nervous system, every system that's within those, and every system that's affected by those, the constant meshing of systems on top of each other. But to be able to affect those systems, I don't just know about the body now. I have to learn about how stars expand and collapse. Because that's physics, and if we are built in a world that abides by the law of physics, which is exactly how every single atom and molecule in the universe acts and reacts, why are we any different? So, for me, that's the sticking point a lot of people get to, is they get to good, and then to become great, they fall off the wagon, and then they change direction, change careers, and they start something new, and they build up again.
Yeah.
And that's so depressing for so many people.
Would you say patience is a key thing when it comes to skill acquisition? Because the reason why I ask that is that, you know, particularly living in this modern world where, you know, you can find out anything that you want literally at a click of a button and a smudge of your thumb.
Yeah.
Really, do you think that on a whole there's a lack of patience with a lot of people acquiring these
To
skills?
an extent, I mean, I wouldn't really call myself a patient person.
Yeah,
I think everything is in context, of course.
yeah.
You need patience to get to your big picture.
Yeah,
You need patience in that context, but you need to be impatient to get to the next step.
Yeah.
Because if you're like, there's something to be said for it will happen when it happens. It will happen when it happens, and being chill out. But if there isn't enough of a need, if there isn't enough impatience
Yeah.
to create that want, that need to learn that thing now,
yeah,
then how long are you going to be impatient? You need a certain level of impatience to be successful.
Yeah.
But if you're, it's like perfection.
yeah,
My rule on perfection is perfection is a fool's errand
yeah,
that you should never stop chasing.
yeah,
Perfection is something you should always strive for,
yeah,
no matter. And it's how everyone should be.
yeah,
But you should also give yourself a break and realise that it's unachievable.
yeah,
So you're always trying to be your best, but you give yourself credit for doing your best at every point of the way.
Yeah.
It is literally just do your best. That's what my dad used to say to me: just do your best, son, and no one will say anything.
yeah.
So this is my
Yeah. I think a lot of people tend to lose track of that because I know, you know, coming from a kickboxing background.
I just would like to let you know that 5:05 we are closing bar for private event. So if you would like to be here, we've got second bar, second place on the first floor.
Okay.
There is bar as well, and then you can sit over there. So yeah.
Where is it?
Just
Okay.
follow the stairs.
Sorry for disruption.
And then
It's all good.
Yes.
Raw and uncut, that's the way we do it. So,
okay, I tried.
kind of lost my train of thought. So, in relation to patience and impatience, so I know, for example, when it comes to boxing, learning martial arts, like you said, you have to have a certain level of impatience in order to get to that into that next level. But at the same time, there's also a level of patience that's required for your last skills that you learn.
Again, like I said, it's context dependent.
Yeah.
People hate this because it depends.
Yeah,
It's the worst answer in the world, and it's the best answer in the world. It's the best answer you can possibly give to anyone, to anything.
Yeah.
It depends.
Yeah.
Well, is it best to have patience?
yeah,
Oh yes, if you in this context.
Yeah.
Is it best to be impatient? Yes, in this context.
yeah,
So it's good to be patient and impatient. Yes.
yeah.
It depends on the context.
Yeah.
So I mean that's another thing that I think stops people a lot in
Yeah.
skill acquisition is because they hold a rule and think they can apply that rule to it universally.
Yeah.
This is what everyone's for everything.
Yeah.
No. There's not a single scrap of life
Yeah.
is there a rule that is universal.
Yeah.
But actually, I correct myself. There's only one thing that's universally correct all the time.
Yeah.
And that is change. The only constant in life is change.
Yeah.
And if you don't embrace the change, then
You can't die.
embrace change and become the creator of your own future.
Yeah.
That's another one of my little sayings that I use myself.
Most definitely, and I think another thing that you touched on earlier is enjoyment as well. And what I find is that when it comes to acquiring certain skills, there is a certain level of enjoyment that you have to have, or that has to be present when you during the actual process itself. So, do you think people get? And it's probably the last bit. Do you think that people get lost in a time that it may take, as opposed to getting caught up in the enjoyment of
As you go through any journey, there's going to be times where you feel completely destroyed, disillusioned, crushed,
Yeah.
and you're like, and just overall overwhelmed.
Yeah.
This overwhelming feeling of it's never going to happen. This is too bigger of a mountain.
Yeah.
And you've got to accept you're going to feel like that sometimes,
Yeah.
because, I mean, let's face it, if you want to achieve something truly great,
Yeah.
or even just good,
Yeah.
you have to climb that mountain.
Yeah.
And the mountains aren't small.
Yeah.
That's why they're called mountains.
Exactly.
They're not hills.
Exactly, and it's also that thing of taking it one step at a time as well, because I think where people sometimes get lost is that they, like you say, they look at the mountain and see that as a whole, as opposed to just looking at the next step or the next.
Another thing I want to add to that as well, coming back to the enjoyment,
Yeah.
is people assume that people who say, "Oh, I love my life, I love my job, I love this," people assume that that's how they feel every second of the day. Of course not. You can't have up without down.
Yeah.
You can't have left without right. To know where centre is, you must know where the outside of the circle lies.
Yeah.
If I ask you to, I'm going to draw a circle on this piece of paper,
Yeah.
and you've got to put the dot in the middle of the circle,
Yeah.
but you have to go first.
Yeah.
You don't know where the middle of that circle is going to be, so you can't know where the middle is.
Yeah.
If you don't know where the outer realms of your life lie, you don't know where the centre is.
Yeah.
If you don't know where the centre is, you don't know where the truth is.
Yeah.
Okay? So, a lot of people, they look at, especially nowadays with social media, they look at this Facebook world,
Yeah.
and they see this perfect, esoteric again,
Yeah.
existence of everyone else looking like they're having such a great time all the time,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, why isn't my life that good? And it's just false.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's one of my favourite sayings as well. It's a bit like cock measuring, and the thing about cock measuring is that there's always going to be someone who has a bigger one than you. So why make a comparison? You just make the best with what you've got, and then you push on from there.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I think one of the things that I think it's important for everyone watching to know about skill acquisition and about loving what you do is there's going to be days where you hate what you do.
Yeah.
No matter how much you love it, there's going to be days where you wake up and you don't feel great.
Yeah.
And you don't feel 100%, and you don't feel like you love what you do today.
Yeah.
In fact, I went through 2 years on separate occasions.
Yeah.
1 year on one occasion, 1 year on another occasion, for various reasons, where I hated it.
Yeah.
And I'm still doing the stuff I'm doing now.
Yeah.
But it's just, at that point in time, I wasn't being true to myself.
Yeah.
Even what I was doing, I wasn't congruent with myself at that time.
Yeah.
And then I came out of it and I was doing stuff really cool again, and I sort of lost my way again.
Yeah.
And, the whole reason, there's a whole story behind those years, and that I can go into maybe another time.
Yeah.
Not for today.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're just not going to like your life. And
Yeah.
when you don't like your life, it just means you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
It just means there's something not congruent about you on that day, at that specific time.
Yeah.
Maybe it's only one day, maybe it's only 1 week, maybe it's only 1 month, maybe it's a whole year.
Yeah.
But I mean, the quicker you spot this, and the quicker you understand and recognise and observe what that incongruence is, the quicker you can change that, the quicker you can get back to loving your life. And I think that's a very important thing for people to understand, skill acquisition.
Yeah.
That, it's not easy,
Yeah.
it's not hard,
Yeah.
it's what you make it.
Yeah.
And it's just about making sure that you're congruent, honest and true with yourself,
Yeah.
and that everything you're doing is only benefiting you and others at the same time. If there's only one party benefiting from something, if you're not getting paid enough,
Yeah.
if you're not giving the person who's paying you enough time,
Yeah.
if all these sort of things, unless there's 2 winners for everything you do,
Yeah.
you and the other party, then you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
This is the way that we become happy in ourselves, congruent, true and honest, and that's how we succeed. If you start doing things that are incongruent and untrue and dishonest, you will feel like crap.
Yeah.
It's
as simple as
I
that.
haven't met anyone that truly feels good about themselves,
Yeah.
and who isn't being honest and true to themselves and everyone else around them.
Yeah.
Even the people who are, sometimes they just have bad days.
Yeah.
And that's it, because after all, we are human.
Yeah.
No matter how fantastic and brilliant we are and how fantastic and brilliant we can become,
Yeah.
it's still only human.
I think that's a great note to leave it on, guys. We'll be talking about skill acquisition a lot more on a personal level when it comes to my pugilist experience, my workshop next week Saturday on the 29th. We'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about styles of learning. We'll be talking about ways in which you can find your greatness. But it all starts with enjoying the process at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool, guys.
Yeah.
Catch you on the next one.
Thank you.